As ever, with any practice in any of these videos, then I would ask that you check that you're safe to do so, particularly with relaxations, because we are looking at potentially a change of state, going from a stress state, a sympathetic nervous system response, to introducing more of a parasympathetic nervous response. So that might include effects such as a lowering of blood pressure. It could include a drift toward sleep, particularly if you're very tired. Although I did find, I will tell this little story in between. So the physiological changes, years ago, many years ago, when I was just a young lad, a young whipper boy, I started teaching relaxation. This would have been in the 1990s, that long ago, when the internet was just a mere twinkle in somebody's eye. And I was invited, I was doing it one-to-one in small group, and I was invited to run relaxation classes at a prestigious gym in central London. I ended up, I think I ran 3 of these classes, and then said it's just not going to pan out. Because what happened was people fell asleep. And in a class of 20 people, dimmed the lights. Generally, it was in the centre of the city of London. There would have been people, probably less local residents, more people coming from work or in the middle of a work day. I think the class was sort of 5:30, 6 o'clock. There would be within a class of 20, I think on one of them was 3 or 4 people falling asleep. Such is my power in the world, is to send people to sleep. It's the best way to take over the world, is to send everybody else to sleep, and then you'll be in charge for 8 hours, 6 hours. And what I surmised in my experience, not just then but later on as well, is that people fall asleep for 2 reasons. The first is that their body just goes, we need sleep more than we really need relaxation. Damn it, just let us sleep. And the second is, I'm scared of relaxation, so I'm going to fall asleep instead. So if that happens for you, you've got those 2 points to come back to, which is, did you fall asleep? And it is important. Did you fall asleep because you desperately needed it? Or did you fall asleep as an avoidance mechanism from truly relaxing? Really useful to know those things, but obviously useful to know in advance so that you are in a situation where, for the 5, 10, 20% of you that might fall asleep, at least you're aware that it might happen. And so you've got to be in a position, because you're not in a class in front of me, you're not committing your time in front of me where I can wake you up at the end. You've got to be in a position where you're safe. The safety of others is considered as well. So obviously you're not using machinery, you haven't got any knives, weaponry, anything like that you're working with. And also, if you're responsible for others, the care and safety of others, whether it be children or adults, then also I wouldn't recommend doing it in those circumstances, certainly not for the first time. But you can apply these principles, certainly the one that we'll do today, which is a sensory awareness guided relaxation. You can apply these in far less time than I'm going to go through them in, which isn't going to be long anyway. But you can do these within 30 seconds or a minute. With practice, you can get down to that level of time, and that will trigger your relaxation response. So then, now, without further ado, we've gone through the safety, we've got some idea that actually it's an introduction, and you've got some idea that it's about a bit of learning, and there is potential. As I say, I'm not there, I don't know who you are, I don't know where you are. Even if you told me, I wouldn't truly know whether you might fall asleep or not. Just be aware that if you do, just allow yourself to wake up straight away afterwards, as soon as my voice stops. That's all I would suggest. And make a conscious decision to either, if you do desperately realize that you need sleep, is make conscious decisions as to how you're going to get that sleep and when. Probably sooner rather than later would be better. There is one other little caveat, which is obviously if you've got anybody that is coming home, if you're at home, for example, or you've got pets and you don't want to be disturbed, then just to make sure people know, or that you've shut the door and you've not got pets in the room with you, something of that nature. Because one of the other challenges is that if you're in the middle of relaxing, certainly in the early days of practice, it's quite disconcerting to have a cat or a child look at you and see you as a blanket or a eider down or something that they can jump up and down on, or settle on in the middle of your relaxation. Have this cat wandering around in circles on your abdomen may not be the most relaxing thing in the world. So those are aside, moving into it. As I suggested last week, most relaxations actually suggest you close your eyes. I don't mind for these practices because in truth, when you most need to be able to relax is probably when your eyes are open and you're upright and you're in a noisy environment. So part of the way I teach people to relax is to learn the basic skill and then apply it in challenging situations, or gradually more and more challenging situations, because that's actually the time that you need it the most. When you're at home and it's quiet on a Sunday afternoon and it's sun shining, it's much easier to relax. You don't need to practice in that environment. You can use your practice there, but you don't need to practice there generally. Okay, so you can either lower, looking down slightly, but make sure your neck is aligned, or close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open. If you keep your eyes open, just focus on a spot in front of you, and then allow yourself to see your peripheral vision and take in everything around you, so you're not actually truly focused on anything, you're allowing all your visual field to come in. And then, as I go through this, just allowing yourself to let go of thoughts, any recurring thoughts, any cycles, anything that might be preying on your mind, and just allow yourself to follow the guidance that I'm offering. All the way through, we're allowing the breath to slow and deepen naturally. So there's no forced breathing, nothing of that sort. And just remember that you can stop at any point in time you wish, because fundamentally it's about your choice. And the first little point I'd like you to do is, actually I will have you, even if you close your eyes, have your eyes opening up. Let's do the visual field first, and then you can choose to keep them open or close them. And focus on a point that is, it may be just the distance of the wall in front of you, maybe 6 feet away or 10 feet away. Or if you happen to have view through a window, looking further out, and fix on a spot somewhere in the distance, as far as you can see, and allow your visual field to open up to everything in your visual field. If you wanted to, just on this first exercise certainly, you can use a bit of movement. So you might use your fingers, your thumbs, and you're just going to take them out and do one side. And I'm taking it out, and I'm going to take my arm back just to the point where I can just see my thumb moving. And I don't mean on the video in front of me, I mean in my peripheral vision. And then I'm going to take it round, and I'm going to find out where my peripheral vision is. It's about there. And down here. So I'm basically getting this hemisphere, roughly, of visual field. That's a really inappropriate geometrical description, but I think you have the idea. And what I'm going to invite you to do is just spend, today let's just spend 15 seconds, just taking in everything in your visual field without attaching yourself to anything apart from this idea that your eye is going to stay pointing in the same direction all the way through. So you're just assessing, becoming aware of your visual field in the here and now. Continue allowing your breath to slow and deepen naturally. We're just going to move on to your auditory field. So again, getting this sense of, from your ears, your auditory sense. Again, what are you hearing around you? Can you hear things behind you? Can you hear things on your left versus your right? above or below you, and in front of you. And as you might be aware, by now you could have closed or lowered your eyes, but you can keep them open, continuing with that broad visual field. Here we're just adding in, or just introducing, the idea of an aural field, A-U-R-A-L. 15 seconds, just allowing yourself to take on board all of the different sounds without any attachment to anything. Good. So this guided visualization or guided relaxation is really about improving your senses, your sensory awareness, whilst getting into a state of relaxedness. So two primary benefits from this approach. Next one, I'm going to go in just to repeat something that we touched on and went into a bit more detail on last week in terms of your breathing. So as you breathing in, hopefully through your nose, so you warm and filter the air, and breathing out through your nose or through your mouth. Becoming aware of that passage of air in through into the top of the lungs, down through the mid part of your lungs to the bottom of the lungs, and then back up and out. So if you were to imagine it as a flow, it would flow in through the nose to the back of your back of your lungs, filling up your lungs, and then flowing out up the front and out through the nose or mouth. Get an idea of that cycle of breath flow. We could do deeper ones, we could do energy flows, for example. For the moment, just run with this breathing in through the nose, if you can, and breathe out through the mouth or nose. And getting a sense of that cycle of flow. A sense of your breath work and what's happening to your physiology and to your physicality as you breathe. The next one, your sense of touch, your skin, primarily. And here, just a sense of wherever your hands are resting, what you're feeling in terms of physical contact. Likewise, other areas of body, if you're sitting down or lying down, sensing the surface on which you're lying or leaning against. Also with your skin, a sense of, so that's pressure. And then you also have a sense of temperature, humidity, and possibly airflow. So actually, where of you is feeling warmth? Are there any areas that are feeling cooler? Come back to the warmth and the idea of warmth. And then any areas where there's a sense of humidity or dryness in the air. You may even, for some of you, start to sense or be already able to sense a sense of tension around the skin. And you're not attaching any emotion to it, you're not attaching any thought to it, you're just allowing yourself to sense that. Allowing it to just pass by. So if you did have a sense of tension in the skin of your right shoulder or your right cheek, let's say the right cheek of your face, it's just then allowing yourself to let that tension ease, the cheek to let go. So you're not attaching yourself to holding on to that feeling, you're just allowing it to gradually dissipate. From there, let's go into the idea of the sense of smell. So all we're doing as we inhale through the nose is just getting a sense of Is there any scent in the air? Is it warm? Is it spicy? Is it a sense of a burning smell, like a candle? Is it a sense of sweetness of flowers? In the UK it's springtime. I have some apple blossom that I've just been out and collected. Just a slightest little hint of nature inside. Or is it a relatively neutral smell? And we can do the same with taste. Just running that tongue around your mouth, around your teeth, getting a sense of taking in. What are you tasting? Is there a sense of your last meal, for example, or the last food you ate or last drink you drank? What are you tasting? Maybe even breathe in through the mouth and taste the air. I live about 10, 15 minutes walk from the sea, and I know that if I was doing this exercise out on a beach, the air would taste different than it does in my back garden. Another sensory feeling one in the sense of your body is feeling the space in your joints. So which joints feel open and spacious and resonant, and which joints feel tighter? And for the ones that feel tighter or less in the right place, can you and do you feel safe allowing the tension out of that joint to find a better space and to have more space, or find a better place, a better position, and to feel more spaciousness, more openness, more resonance within the joint? And this is not an exclusive list, an exhaustive list. It's the main sensations. So we've got a visual sensory hemisphere, cone, whatever you'd like to regard it as. We've got auditory ones. We've got sense of breathing and the flow of our breath, and the depth of our breathing into the rib cage and down into the abdomen and diaphragm. We've got a sense of smell, a sense of taste, and then for our whole body, we've got the sense of skin temperature, moisture, humidity. We've got a sense of contact and pressure. And we've got a sense within the joints of the geometry of the joints and whether we feel more aligned, less aligned, or holding tension or not holding tension. And all we're doing in this guided relaxation, all I'm doing, is taking you through a process of slowly allowing yourself to feel, to use your senses, to become attuned to your senses, without interpretation, without applying meaning, without emotion, just becoming aware. And you can do that anytime you like, and with practice you'll be able to run through all of those in 5 to 10 seconds and find a point of relaxation and enhanced awareness within that short amount of time. That's today's example. And to come out of it, if you wish to come out of it now, just gradually bring yourself back into the here and now. And the easiest way of doing that is to wriggle your fingers, to wriggle your toes, to maybe do some wrist circles. Some ankle circles. Some gentle movements of your neck and shoulders. And maybe you'll yawn. Big movement of the mouth. The jaw. Widen the eyes and come back into the room you're in. And if there's anybody else in there with you watching you do this, Perhaps you're on headphones or earplugs or whatever they're called these days, and they haven't heard what you're doing. Perhaps they'll look at you and smile, and you can feel good because you've brought a moment of brightness to their day. With any guided relaxation, with any state of relaxation, it is easy, as I suggest, relatively easy, to fall asleep or to want to stay there even though other tasks that you had set out for the day are waiting for you. So the challenge is not to pursue this today per se, but to make a decision to practice it at least every other day.